I've heard from an officer who spoke off camera who said that the search will probably end today. You may not be able to hear, but we've got some pictures just about 200 metres behind me. We've just been witnessing a yellow digger that is excavating a old farm building and clearing shrubland behind me here.
Behind me, you can just make out the final moments of the searches here near Praia da Luz in Portugal of any trace for missing Madeleine McCann. Police have told me that they plan to have left by 5 o'clock on Thursday. You can just make out officers taking down cordons showing that the search really is coming to an end. There's somewhat of a deflated air about the search team because we're being told that they haven't found anything worth sending back to Germany for analysis.
I got nightmares in my head, I fear thoughts build up until I can't feel. My mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper. I got nightmares in my head, I fear.
Hello and welcome to True Crime Rocket Science, the most authentic voice in true crime. How well do you know this case? How well do you think the investigators know this case? How good is your attention to detail? How good is their attention to detail? Could it be better? Is it true to say this newest search for evidence occurred close to where Madeleine disappeared? Let me ask that question again. Is it true to say that this newest search for evidence occurred close to where she disappeared? Because that is exactly what was said in a Guardian headline. If you say yes, is close enough to walk, would you say? In other words, close enough to walk from 5A to where these people are digging. If you say yes, is close enough to walk while carrying an almost 4-year-old child. And have a look at this image courtesy of the Sun. Just gives you an idea of the distances involved. If you say yes, the McCanns themselves said they didn't want to use the Ocean Club's nighttime creche because with 3 children it was too long, too far to carry them. So if it was too far for them 2 fit athletic parents, it should be too far for pretty much everyone else as well, for most people. Now clearly, if the site investigators are looking at is where an abducted Madeleine was taken, she had to have been driven there. Does that make sense? And yet there are 0 eyewitness reports of a strange vehicle in the area of the holiday apartment or of a vehicle driving off at night. When I walked the route, there was virtually no traffic because most folk have bedded down for the night. It's also quite a small little town. It closes quite early in the evening, especially in the off-season. When a car does pull away, you notice it. And a lone vehicle on the Roja Negra would have been noticed. Those lights spooling over the countryside would have been seen from far away. Is that even part of this investigation? And if a vehicle was spotted, was it Christian Bruckner's? Because that would be the most obvious way to link him to Madeleine. Before we get to the rest of this analysis, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. Bear in mind, I will be posting part 2 to that previous analysis dealing with a cynical way that the media has been covering this case. And we'll also return to some of the sentiments expressed by the lead detective during this so-called new search. If you find this analysis worthwhile, meaningful, interesting, factual, critical thinking, please do hit the thanks button and let's get started. Now, in terms of our review of day 3, according to The Guardian, there have been no obvious signs of any major discovery from the operation. According to Sky News, officers have been seen holding pitchforks as they combed land in an area on the outskirts of Lagos in the Algarve on Thursday. Lagos is basically the next town from Luz. It's closer to Lagos than it is to Luz, right? Now, this impression of cops banding pitchforks brings the painting American Gothic to mind. I guess this is European Gothic. It's a kind of witch hunt where the hunters chase their own fantasies while the clueless media look on from the sidelines and the folk in the little town of Luz batten down the hatches, biting their nails and hoping against hope that this show will soon be over. Well, it is over. It has ended, and a trifle prematurely. As quickly as the German and Portuguese search teams arrived, they were gone after cordial handshakes and a round of applause. German detectives handed a crate of beer to Polizia Judiciaria officers as a thank you, but there was little to celebrate. And that is according to reporting from The Mirror. According to The Independent, quote, police are now in a race against the clock to find forensic evidence in the disappearance of Madeleine McCann, who vanished from a holiday home in Portugal 18 years ago. I love how the British media make this like really dramatic. They're in a race against the clock. What clock? What clock is ticking? And I mean, really, if you really want to go down that rabbit hole and say that, it's Christian Bruckner coming out of prison in a couple of months, that's a race against the clock, when he isn't even a credible suspect. You normally talk about a race against the clock when it is in the first hours after an incident occurs, not 18 years later. So it really is fanciful reporting. The Independent continues, German investigators have been given until Friday to search an area between Praia de Luz and the cottage where he lived at the time. Now, this is actually incorrect. It's not that they've got until Friday. They were basically searching for 3 days, and if they didn't find anything by Thursday, well, then there wouldn't even be a search Friday, and that is exactly what happened, right? It is understood that they will end their hunt at the end of Thursday if they fail to find anything significant. So, it's no question about racing against the clock. They simply didn't find anything, and so there's no point in searching for another day. According to the BBC, quote, searches for Madeleine McCann resumed on Thursday near to where the 3-year-old disappeared from Praia de Luz, Portugal, 18 years ago. Again, is that correct, accurate reporting? Is it accurate to say that the search for Madeleine was taking place near to where she disappeared? Now, if you had to ask me, if you had to say, okay, if you were searching, where would near be? Well, I would say anywhere along the abductor's route, anywhere close to where an eyewitness apparently saw someone carrying a young child that night. That's near. I mean, are we really saying Lagos, the Algarve, southwestern Portugal is all near to where Madeleine went missing? So if you can't get little details like that correct, how do you expect to make any progress in this case? The BBC also reports German and Portuguese investigators have until Friday to look for evidence. That's also incorrect. The search ended today on day 3, and tomorrow will involve cleaning, packing up, and leaving the area. They've already started that process by removing the blue and white banting, crime scene banting from the area. Why are they leaving the area? Because, surprise, surprise, nothing significant was found. That was something I could have told you, and I did tell you, before the search even started. Now, according to the BBC, officers were scouring a 21 square kilometre site near where she went missing. Again, near where she went missing, really. And look at the dimensions of the search grid, 21 square kilometers, and you're going to spend 3 days searching that. That's 8.1 square miles. Now, if one does some research, and I must say I did very little, I did really much of this is just off the top of my head. What are some of the crazier places the search for Madeleine has gone to? Now, when we address this, we're not going to include sightings, which went to places like Belgium and Morocco, and I think some places even in South America and Australia. We're not going to include those. What are some of the crazier places the search for Madeleine went to? Well, firstly, Robert Murat's home. Nothing was found there. And he was made a suspect, just like Christian Bruckner was made a suspect and later cleared. In fact, he would later sue the media for insisting that he was culpable without any evidence. Number 2, the church in Luz. That's another area where they thought Madeleine may have been taken. Also, number 3, the Roman cemetery, which is literally right behind that church. Number 4, the drains under the town. One of the early theories was that Madeleine wandered out the house and literally fell into a drain because there was some excavation taking place, and some of these excavated areas were open at the time. Number 5, a reservoir in 2023 that had to do with Christian Bruckner as well. What would you say is missing from this list? If you had to go to Pride de Luge with your own search team, where would you go? I'm not going to take it further than that, but I will be returning to part 2, where we'll deal with how the British media have covered this case of late, and also what Mr. Amaral said during the search, and then I'll be following that up with where I would recommend searches be conducted. And it would be interesting to see what you guys make of those assertions, whether that's sensible or not, reasonable or not. Anyway, that is it. The end of day 3, the end of the search, no results. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.